I've always been fascinated with some of the greatest mysteries and mythical tales of epic proportions. What really happened at Roswell, New Mexico?
Because you prefer alien love. Alien love? Why'd you say alien love?
Who actually goes to watch Brendan Schaub do stand-up comedy? And are these people getting the mental health treatment they need?
I see a convertible Mini Cooper.
How do you like that for pronunciation? Stuck on them balls. I'm getting better.
Listen, man, where I live, West Hollywood, convertible Mini Cooper is actually pretty cool. No one bats an eye at them. We're thick like peanut butter. I don't know why. My mouth was so dry like a parrot's tongue. It was so fucking dry.
Stop it. Get some help.
Did anybody actually keep track of how many birthdays were snatched that fateful day? And did anyone contact the families?
Because now, I will snatch every motherfucker day.
Today's wondrous tale involves a judo legend and Hollywood stunt veteran,
plus
a Bushido legend and Hollywood stunt double regular,
you're my #1 customer,
and an encounter that allegedly left one individual with some soiled underpants. And not in the way that Japanese people love with their kinky little habits.
So I'd like to introduce you to Ted. Ted is going to be our interpreter, and we're going to go buy some used panties.
Okay.
This is kind of the underground trade in Tokyo, so...
I gotta take a fucking 12-pound shit.
Now, there is a lot of fiction thrown in the mix here, but luckily I am here to help you explore every single hilarious aspect of this story. Will we get to the truth by the end of this? Maybe. Probably not. Sometimes the truth is irrelevant. Having a good chuckle along the way is paramount.
I'm a
pathological liar.
I haven't been wrong yet.
Now, depending on where you sit with Sensei Poopy Pants, you're in one of two camps. You're either a total bloody idiot.
Many people consider me, one of the great masters in my own field.
Or you're a switched-on genius Seagalian who subscribes to this channel.
And many people probably think I'm an idiot that, doesn't know anything, so...
The second one, definitely.
Which is a nice little segue to me thanking the legendary community for their continued love, support, and hilarious comments. It's nice to see the community growing and everyone having each other's back and lifting each other up. It is truly inspiring. And of course, your obscene comments and observations genuinely make my day.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
I love you too. I love you too.
If you're not part of Seagalism, there can only be a few explanations. You are obviously unaware of its existence, and today the gods have smiled upon you. Alternatively, you chose not to subscribe, and therefore Satan has a special place waiting for you next to him. You're obviously leading an empty, hollow existence that could use some Seagal-focused motivation and words of wisdom.
I'm a musician, as you know. I am a little bit Asian. I'm a Russian Mongol, and I'm Russian. Am I the inventor of kicks and punches? Of course. I'm a pure Mohawk. I'm a piece of shit. I'm a tough guy.
So think about joining our cult community of legendary lunatics. Now a brief merch plug to show you what draping yourself in Seagal awesomeness looks like, backed with vocals from Sensei Chubby Cheeks himself.
Darkness before the night, night begins the day. If I see you on this journey, I hope you can stay. Well, it's rocky and it's rough.
When it comes to Sensei Stunt Double, there are an endless collection of tales, many of which are not overly positive. In fact, it's very difficult to find anyone singing the praises of Master Meatloaf. For 12 minutes of people shit on Seagal, check out this video if you haven't seen it already.
Hey man, I'm a genius, alright? I'm the most talented musician in the world!
We cannot let this obscure our objective assessment of the evidence surrounding Shitgate, as it's now affectionately known. First, some history. Judo Gene Lebell was exactly that, a renowned judo and grappling martial artist.
Judo.
He was well respected by many in the industry and was known to have exchanged knowledge with Bruce Lee throughout their respective martial arts journeys. He even took part in some early MMA fights against opponents well before the UFC was a thing. But not everyone was a fan of Gene Lebell.
Gene Lebell used to teach Bruce Lee, and Gene Lebell beat him up and choked him out. If Gene Lebell said that, and he probably did, he is a pitiful liar.
Yeah. Rumour has it Lebell farted on Seagal's face while he was sleeping, and Big Daddy Tenderloin didn't appreciate that.
There are certain very famous people who challenged me. And I said, there'll be no money involved, come with no cameras, no one's gonna see it, and there are no rules.
Did anyone accept?
No.
No. Of course not.
Sensei Sausage Fingers needs no introduction. He is the best at everything.
Yeah.
Are you really as good as they all say you are?
Every once in a while. I don't like to really talk too much about myself, but...
Once upon a time, most likely on the set of Mark for Death, there was an alleged incident. Let's now listen to Kevin Hart, who shoved down your throat almost as much as a rock nowadays, explain the incident.
Steven Seagal, right? Steven Seagal. We're doing Ride Along 2. Cube accidentally punched one of the stunt guys in the nose. Stunt guy's nose starts bleeding. Cube is apologetic. Yo, man, I'm so sorry. God, I'm sorry. He's like, no, man, it's okay. Like, at least you're nice. You know, like, I know that it wasn't intentional. We've worked with people in the past that have been just dicks.
Right.
So he's like, who? I'm like, who else? He's like, well, Steven Seagal, you know, he used to really get shots in, you know, in these scenes. So
Seagal put a stuntman's face literally through the glass for real.
Got to a point where we had to come to our boss, you know, the stunt coordinator. We were like, hey, man, Steven's really hitting us. Can you kind of tell him to
sound like his wife?
Down, right?
His wife said the same thing, didn't she?
Steven found out that one of the guys was like a black belt in judo, like a serious black belt. So Steven comes up to the guy. He's like, hey, put me in your best hold. I bet you I can get out of it. And he's like, I can't do that. You know, you're my boss. I can't do that to you. He's like, put me in your best hold. He looks at his boss because Steven was being a the guy said, go ahead, do it. Choke Steven. Puts him in a chokehold. Right? Steven's struggling. His feet squirming. He's searching for balance. He can't. It's like he's losing air a little bit, but you know, you got to tap out when you don't want it anymore. So all you hear is all you hear is he taps out. He taps out and goes, good hold. And he beelines to the bathroom. He comes out. It smells like shit everywhere. The guy choked the shit. Steven Seagal.
He's marked for death.
And literally all you heard was
how satisfying is that when the pull on the set shit pants? How great is that?
Nothing's better.
Shit. But just picture being a tough guy and you like, go ahead, your best hole. And it's really a good hole.
And just stool come right out.
This is a story that many of you would be familiar with. Gene Lebell turned Sensei Seagal into Sensei Dane.
Allegedly, that's ignorant.
Somewhere along the way, this story gained insane traction and it clearly upset Sensei Bulldog.
Gene Lebell, who wants to say that, you know, he's the stunt guy who beat up Bruce Lee. Gene Lebell is somebody who made his entire career lying about who he beat up. He beat up Jim Brown. I don't know if you guys know who Jim Brown is, but he was one of the greatest football players in the history of the world. And a very, very, very tough, nasty guy if he had to get nasty. And I promise you, Gene Lebell did not beat him up. But Gene Lebell calls himself Judo Gene Lebell. We had experts look in every Kodokan, Budokan, Judokai, everywhere to see if this guy had one black belt. We couldn't find one. And what everybody came back to me and said is, he's never even studied judo. So he walks around telling everybody he's Judo Gene Lebell, tells everybody he beat me up, he choked me out, you know, he beat up Bruce Lee, he choked out Bruce Lee, he went to some big, you know, fight somewhere where there's some people fighting in the audience. And
I mean, there's a little bit of pot calling kettle black there, but if I dive into all of Seagal's lies, this video will be 4 hours long. If you want to see a video about Seagal's lies, hit me in the comments, my friends.
Yeah, buddy!
Everyone was aware of the story, and everyone, and I mean everyone, had something to say about it.
It depends on who you believe, you know, how far it went, the altercation with Steven Seagal.
I'll tell you the exact story. I was at his house when he got fired. Gene doesn't get mad at me for telling this. He loves it. So he was on the set of Under Siege, and he was the fight choreographer. And to know Gene is to know he's been a stuntman in Hollywood since before I was born, and I'm 46, okay? Steven was going way too hard on all of Gene's guys and not pulling his punches and just straight up wailing on him and saying, I want it to look real. And Gene had a confrontation with him. They did the take again. Steven didn't pull any punches, and he walks up to Steven, front chokes him, yanks him in, rips him up like this, and Steven pissed his pants and dropped to the ground.
And Steven Seagal said that never happened, and he's senile and delusional and this and that all that stuff that, you know, happened on set supposedly, allegedly, didn't happen. What do you think about that?
But would you ever admit it, A? And B, I mean, obviously the guy's a liar. I mean, he told everybody he taught Anderson Silva that kick. I mean, seriously, the guy doesn't have a very good track record. I'm so mad that he would say anything like that to Gene, like, I don't want to give anyone another quote. I'm gonna give you another quote. I would beat the crap out of Steven Seagal, but I bet I could. Hell yeah! You know what? If he says anything bad about Gene to my face, I would be forced to do so. Of course I would.
I heard an unverified story about when Gene Lebell and Steven Seagal had a
that's a true story. That's an absolute true story. Gene Lebell told me that story.
Yeah.
Gene tells you it like this. He doesn't actually tell you the whole story.
What's the story?
Well, you know, Steven was trying to say that no one could choke him out. You can't choke him out. He had this move. This move will stop you from choking out. So, you know, I was like, all right, Steven, let's try it. And I get him in a headlock there. I get him in the rear naked. And he takes this hand, the free hand, and then you just karate chops me right in, you know, the old sisters. And there's like, you know, the way Gene Lebell talks, right. He wouldn't even say his balls. He's like the nicest guy ever. He would say something like, right in the old Johnson, you know? And then, and then I guess he got tired after doing that and he just fell asleep. And I guess maybe he forgot to go to the bathroom. So he went to the bathroom then.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Master Mumbletown is definitely aware of this story. Ariel Hawani, an MMA reporter, asked Sensei Snuggles what his thoughts were about the matter, and Sensei laid down the law.
Most of the Japanese people are from that tradition. They call me Sensei or Shihan. You know, so.
I think Sensei Steven Seagal with the 3 S's, it just sort of rolls off the tongue, you know?
There you go. Hey, well, you're the commentator, see?
Okay, I wanted to ask you, there's been this sort of story that's been passed around, and I like to get to the bottom of things. I'm sure you can appreciate that. You versus Judo Gene Lebell. What exactly happened on the set of that movie?
I don't even know if he's still alive. Is he still alive?
Actually, we just had him on the show like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. I never knew this about him. Either he is a pathological liar or he had somebody, you know, making up these stories. He came over to my trailer, and I was with a guy called Conrad Palmisano, who is still a legend and one of the greatest stunt coordinators in the history of Hollywood. And we were standing there, we were just talking about moves and stuff like that, and we were just doing some stretching, and you know, he was showing me, you know, how you can stretch, or he wanted to stretch my back, and he stretched my back, and then I just kind of, you know, flipped over the top of him and said thank you for that. There was never ever any confrontation with him ever.
Never.
In any way, shape, or form, and I swear to God on my children, they're the most sacred thing to me in this life. And so if he said that, he is a pathological scumbag liar.
I'm a pathological liar.
So where does this come from? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I keep answering that. You know, either he made up this lie or someone made it up. And when I first heard that, I was dumbfounded, and so was Conrad Palmisano, who...
You're saying that someone has created this sort of fable, this myth of an altercation that never even happened. And I'm just wondering how it has continued to live on.
Gene Lebell has never even said anything impolite to me. When he would see me, he was extremely polite and just acted like a friend. And I think you know the truth here, and I think everybody else knows the truth here.
You shit yourself?
And if Gene is saying shit like that, he should be ashamed of himself. And after I heard this, I did start to think of some of the things that he had said. Like, he said to me that he beat the shit out of Bruce Lee. And, you know, so I just started thinking, well, you know what, maybe this guy really is a pathological liar.
If I were a respectable journalist, I would report everything in an unbiased manner. But I'm not. So I'd probably be perfect working in mainstream media.
We know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. Vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus does not then use that person to go anywhere else.
I'm just a balding kid making YouTube videos for a chuckle. Now, with that said, I will bring forth both sides of the story because I'm not a total piece of shit. But in 2023, the truth is subjective, so take from that what you will.
Real f***ed up, kind of bizarre combination of monkey shit.
On the set of Mark for Death, the two main players to come out and speak were Stephen Lambert and Conrad Palmisano. Viking Samurai interviewed both of these lads, and this is where the story gets murky. According to Lambert's version, Palmisano wasn't even there. According to Palmisano, Lambert is just exaggerating a tale of two martial arts legends swapping techniques and ideas.
What?
Yep.
What?
Did they have some physical contact? And again, it's saying, hey, you know, let me show you this move I got. Okay, go, I can get out of that. Go ahead. No, you do this. Boom, you know. Hey, don't do that to me. But it was just like, it was done in fun and in jest, and it's just like two professionals kind of, you know, it's like.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they're exchanging martial art technique and knowledge, but...
Well, to me, that just sounds boring. According to Lambert, there were 6 people present for this, and Conrad wasn't one of them.
Yeah, there was 2 bodyguards, which was Steven Seagal's. There was Steven Seagal, there was Gene Lebell, there was Lincoln Simon, who was stunt guy, who was with me in my honey wagon, and myself. So there was 6 people there.
Okay.
Conrad, nobody else. There was no Conrad Palmisano, nobody else. Anybody who says otherwise about this story are liars.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple, because they weren't there. The producers, the directors, whoever. And they're just having a simple conversation in front of each other. And, you know, it's Seagal and, you know, the 2 bodyguards are on each side of him, the Lebell, and they're talking about moves and introducing themselves, being casual and entertaining, and everything's light, and they're talking about a chokehold. Seagal starts the conversation, and he goes, I see the way you do your chokeholds, and he was disagreeing. Known fact, rule, that you go slow. You're having a conversation, you're teaching, you're showing, you're expressing your movement. And that's just what Lebell was doing. In slow motion, he walks around, and Lebell starts to put his hands around him, and very slow, just as I'm moving, right? And the minute his hands go around Seagal's neck, before he even touched him, you know, grazed him, Seagal just sidesteps, full blast, and forearms, you know, bang, forearms. See what I'm doing?
Yeah.
But down, right in his crotch.
That's crazy.
Full blast. I mean, like, if I told you, if I spread my legs and I said, hit me in the crotch with your forearm as hard as you can. And that's what Seagal did. And Lebell jumped up like 3 feet in the air. And the moment his toes touched the ground, he just sidestepped and spun his hand around the front of Seagal's neck and took his leg and put it in back of Seagal's feet and just threw his arm back and threw his leg forward, Lebell that is, and Seagal went flying up. See the way my arms are? About 4 feet high, and landed right on his butt and back. Hard.
Ouch.
And the bodyguards looked at Seagal.
So, who do we believe after all this?
I really don't know.
I have a confession to make. When I was 7 years old, I was in class. I put my hand up as I needed to go to the toilet, but the teacher wouldn't let me go. She said I had to stay in class. So I shit my pants. Right in my little AFL footy shorts. The moral of the story? I was a kid when I shit my pants. I got over it. Seagal was a full-grown adult when he pooed his pants. You can never get past that.
Mr. Poopy Pants.
At this point, does it even really matter if the story's real? I mean, we all remember the infamous Richard Gere gerbil incident that was doing the rounds.
That could happen, right? Like Richard Gere with that gerbil up his ass. Remember that one? Do you remember that rumor? Everybody heard that, right? You never heard that?
He said a gerbil up his ass.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell him the rumor.
I just heard the rumor. I don't know how
When we were
happened.
kids, there was a rumor that Richard Gere had to go to the hospital to get a gerbil taken out of his ass.
And that is still hilarious to this day, even if there is no merit whatsoever to the story. So it's not true. It's awesome anyway, much like this story. Do I think Sensei Poopy Butt took a dookie in his pants? Pains me to say, probably not.
What the hell did you just say?
Do I care if it's actually true? Hell no. The story is a beast that should never ever die, like Sensei's movie career.
Thank you for noticing that.
Whether G made up the rumor or not just for fun doesn't matter. It's a hilarious tale that clearly annoyed the shit out of Sensei his pants and should be kept alive forever.
In the spirit of Aikido.
And what do you all think, my friends? Do you think Sensei's soiled pants actually did it? Or do you think it was just a bit of men being men and jostling? Personally, I like to believe I live in a world where Master Doodoo Bum actually did take a big old massive involuntary dump in his pants. That's the world we should all want to live in.
I remember seeing the Steven Seagal movie where he was under attack and he was in the house. And
You are not Steven Seagal.
Alright, my fellow Seagalians, thank you all for watching. I'll be relocating this week, so I'll try to get the new video done as soon as possible. In the meantime, enjoy yourselves, don't eat anything that might cause you to poo your pants, but above all, stay awesome. Peace, legends.
When I'm sailing away, sun shining bright in the sky, and I'm free when I close my eyes. Help me wash away my sorrow.